Ukraine just got eyes in the sky. Sweden's Saab 340 flying radar has arrived, and while it might not look like much next to a US AWACS, this bird might be one of the most important systems Ukraine's Air Force has ever received. Not a missile, not a tank, a flying command center, and it's about to change everything. Hi friends, Wes here, and I'm a badass mother who don't take no off nobody. I'm also an Army infantry vet, Air Force AWACS surveillance radar guy, journalist, law nerd, and probably one of the few people on YouTube who can tell you what a rotodome sounds like from inside the aircraft. Spoiler, it's a lot like a dying whale screaming at 30,000 feet. I used to fly on the E-3 Sentry, America's big flying radar plane. It's massive, it's loud, and it builds a radar picture so wide we could track threats across entire continents. But it's also old, big, and slow. Oh, and it's hard to hide, which is exactly why Ukraine doesn't need an E-3. They need this, the Saab 340 AEW&C. Smaller, faster, easier to hide, and packed with modern sensors. Let's break it down. We're deep into year 4 of Russia's full-scale invasion. Every day, Ukraine is defending against missile barrages, drone swarms, and long-range bomber strikes, and until now, they've been doing it without their own airborne early warning aircraft. No AWACS, no dedicated radar eyes in the sky. Most of Ukraine's air picture has been piped in through NATO. British RC-135s, US Global Hawks, German Tornadoes, all watching from outside Ukrainian airspace. That introduces a delay, a gap. And in war, a delay means dead civilians and destroyed infrastructure. Now, with the Saab 340, Ukraine finally has its own early warning, in-country, in real time, operated by Ukrainians, not intermediaries. Let's unpack what this flying radar really is and why it's the perfect fit for Ukraine's air defense game right now. The Saab 340 AEW&C, known in Swedish service as the ACS 890, starts with a humble airframe, a twin-engine regional turboprop airliner. In civilian life, this aircraft usually shuttles 30 business travelers from Stockholm to Gothenburg while they complain about the coffee. But Sweden had other plans. They gutted the interior, hardened the systems, added military comms gear, and bolted an Erie IPS-890 radar to the roof. A long, fixed, ESA active electronically scanned array beam that looks like someone stuck a canoe on the top of the plane. This isn't just cosmetic. That radar can track targets at up to 400 kilometers unclassified, depending on altitude and line of sight. And unlike older mechanically scanned radars, Erie uses electronic beam steering. That means faster scanning, better tracking, and the ability to focus on multiple threat sectors at once. Now, it's not perfect. The fixed beam gives you 120 degrees of coverage per side. Great for a wide battlefield sweep, but it does create blind spots to the front and the rear. That's a major trade-off compared to the E3's 360-degree spinning dome. So no, this isn't a full AWACS replacement. It's more of a battlefield-oriented radar picture than a strategic theater overview. But for Ukraine's war, that trade-off makes sense. Because here's the reality. They're not looking to manage an air campaign over half of Europe. They're trying to detect cruise missiles out of Kursk, spot drone swarms out of Belgorod, and vector F-16s onto enemy aircraft sneaking over Zaporizhia. The Saab gives them the kind of tactical situational awareness they've never had before. And that's just the radar. The Saab 340 is also loaded with battle management gear, encrypted data links, and multi-band radios. In NATO parlance, this means the aircraft can not only see the threat, it can also command, control, and communicate the threat in real time with fighters, air defense crews, and other airborne platforms. This turns the Saab into a true AEW&C platform. Airborne early warning and control, not just an airborne radar truck. So let's talk use cases. Imagine a Russian bomber squadron takes off from Ingalls Air Base, or what few bombers Russia has left after Operation Spider's Web. The Saab 340 detects it minutes earlier than any ground radar would. That gives Ukraine time to reposition mobile SAMs, alert civilians, scramble fighters, and retask interceptors. Or take an air-to-air engagement. A Ukrainian F-16 flying near Kharkiv can stay radio silent, its radar off, avoiding detection. Meanwhile, the Saab 340 is orbiting 150 miles behind, feeding it real-time threat data. The fighter locks an AMRAAM missile on a Russian Su-35, fires, and turns away without ever switching on its own radar. Again, it's all about speed and visibility. The Saab also makes joint operations possible in a way Ukraine couldn't do before. When your radar picture is stitched together in real time and shared across air, land, and sea assets, you can start building what's called a common operating picture, a unified view of the battle space that lets everyone fight smarter, not harder. And it's not just for defense. With this system in the air, Ukraine can plan coordinated deep strike missions. Think F-16s going after a Russian airbase or S-400 battery with real-time Saab support. The Iri radar tracks enemy aircraft trying to intercept, while the Saab crew guides strike packages around known threats and even retargets missiles mid-flight. This is NATO-style air coordination in a very un-NATO theater. The bottom line, the Saab 340 isn't just a radar on wings, it's an airborne quarterback, a mission planner, and a threat spotter, all rolled into one. And while it lacks the flashy silhouette of an E3 or a wedgetail, crikey, it's exactly what Ukraine needs, a nimble, survivable, and modern airborne battle manager that can keep up with this fast-moving war. Finally, there's a doctrine shift. Sweden didn't just give Ukraine a new toy, they handed over a piece of NATO air power infrastructure. This is a capability, not just a platform, and it signals trust. Sweden only has 2 of these aircraft. They gave 1 to Ukraine and kept 1 for training. The infrastructure defense is also huge. With this system in the air, Ukraine can protect logistics, hubs, rail lines, command centers, and power plants. The radar builds a real-time picture of the entire threat envelope, letting operators brace for the next Caliber or Shahed strike. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Saab 340 is slow. It's not maneuverable. It doesn't have stealth. And it can't outrun an R-37M fired from a Russian Su-35. If it gets caught outside friendly air defense umbrellas, it's toast. So Ukraine has to be smart. Expect these aircraft to fly deep in the rear, always behind layers of Patriots, NASAMs, and IRIS-Ts, possibly escorted by fighters, possibly using electronic warfare to mask their signals. Another downside, these radars can be jammed. Russia has powerful EW capabilities, and if they know where the Saab is, they'll try to blind it. But again, the value proposition is clear. Even if it only flies a few hours a day, it gives Ukraine command and control that it has never had before. Back when I was flying in the E3, we used to talk about building a God's eye view of the battlefield. Total dominance. Every radar contact mapped, every missile tracked. Ukraine isn't there yet, but this is step 1. It also hints at a deeper shift. We're watching Ukraine's Air Force transition from a reactive force to a proactive one. From intercepting drones over cities to planning coordinated air campaigns with F-16s, AMRAAMs, and real-time data feeds. If they can integrate this platform correctly, it won't just help Ukraine win the air war, it'll reshape how regional air forces operate for decades to come. So what does it all mean? It means Ukraine is building something permanent, not just borrowing NATO gear, not just surviving the next missile wave. It's assembling a real air force, one that flies its own fighters, sees its own airspace, and calls its own shots. And Sweden? By handing over one of its only 2 flying radars, it's not just helping Ukraine, it's showing the rest of NATO what commitment really looks like. Keep an eye on the skies because Ukraine just got a new pair. That's it for today, friends. We're closing in on 100,000 subscribers, so if you dig military technology with a healthy dose of sarcasm and veteran humor, this is where you're meant to be. Subscribing is the best way to support this channel, and as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.